I can think of few better ways to escape the strains of 2020 than by getting lost in a great book. If you've always been drawn to the Civil War era like I have, you're going to want to learn about the historical fiction novel called The Arlington Orders by Eliot Mason. It weaves together fact and fiction, all surrounding the Confederate president, who we don't hear a lot about.
Absolutely. Here with more is the author of said book. That's Eliot Mason joining us now from his home just south of LA. It's great to have you there, Eliot. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you.
It's great to
How
have
are
you, my
you?
friend. Doing all right. Doing all right. Let's talk
Good.
about this book.
Thank you.
So your novel, it weaves fact and fiction together, which, I think a lot of people are doing right now for funsies on Facebook, but this is done with an artistic flair. Let's talk about the book and how you bring fact and fiction together like this.
Well, the book actually starts with a real life incident called the Dahlgren Affair. And the Dahlgren Affair, basically, there was a young Union colonel by the name of Ulrich Dahlgren who was killed outside the Confederate capital of Richmond, Virginia, about 6 miles outside of it. And when they searched his body, they found a set of orders on him. And the set of orders were that he was to kill President Jefferson Davis, who was the president of the Confederacy, to kill everybody in the Confederate government, and to burn Richmond to the ground. It was a big controversy throughout the South, very well publicized. It kind of breached a gentleman's agreement that civilian heads of state would not be targeted.
Yeah.
So because of this, the South decided to evacuate the capital of Richmond, Virginia. Getting the people out was not the problem. The problem was they had to get out all of their gold and silver reserves. So they literally devised a secret plan to move that stuff out of there. And in that operation, the secret operation, it ended up disappearing without a trace. And to this day, no one knows what happened to it.
Oh my gosh.
And that's
Very
the
intriguing.
fact.
Yes, that's the fact.
All right, the fact is good enough. That's great. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
that's the actual. Yeah, it's an amazing story, and very few people know about it. So what I did was I took that actual incident and I created a fictional story around it where people discover clues in modern times, and it touches on a lot of the issues that we're facing now. The Civil War, we're still fighting it 150 years later, especially as you see all the issues going on today in cities and in with riots and with Confederate monuments and all of these things that are happening currently. So it really touches upon these things, and it's kind of strange how timely it is now with everything going on.
Yeah.
My goodness, what a fascinating time in history. I have to confess, not being a Southern girl, Elliot, I don't know a lot about Jefferson Davis. I believe so. He was the first Confederate president. Wasn't there only one president of the Confederacy?
He was the only one. Yes, he was the only president of the Confederacy. He was later captured at the end of the war. But the South tried to set up a kind of a similar government. They focused a little bit more on states' rights, but they tried to set up their own kind of form of government that mirrored a lot of what was going on in the Union government. But he was the only one.
What inspired you to put this book together? There's history buffs, and they'll read history, but then there's like the cosplay history buffs. They're like, no, let's take this a step further. It's pretty awesome that your mind space has kind of brought you to this book.
Well, I was a history major in college. I've always been a history nerd. I was that guy who used to read the history textbook for leisure in high school. I was the kind of the history nerd. And actually what came upon this was I was on the couch one night watching the History Channel and doing what most history nerds do, which is spend nights watching that various episodes of the History Channel, and I saw this. This story about the Dahlgren Affair. And now I knew of the Dahlgren Affair, but I didn't know a lot about it, and it just kind of captured my interest. And when I thought about the Dahlgren Affair, I thought, how could this be combined with what is going on with the lost Confederate treasury? And then I said, how can we combine this later on with what's going on in today's world? How do we apply history to where we are now? And that's something that has always fascinated me. I've always been a fan of historical fiction, and it's just kind of came together in that manner.
I love it.
I'm curious. I mean, inevitably, there have been tons of theories or even conspiracy theories about where that gold and silver reserve has wound up. Are there any that you subscribe to?
You know, the silver, it was actually divided in two. The silver was actually focused in state enrichment. And what was interesting about that was there are theories that it's buried in a cemetery in Richmond, Virginia. There's a lot of evidence showing that it might be there, and they won't dig it up because it would disturb this historical landmark of a cemetery.
Yep.
The gold is another story. The gold disappeared. There's been a lot of theories about it. There was a man by the name of James Semple who was supposedly to retrieve this gold, and he was supposedly going to be the one that hid it. He denies ever receiving it. There's some people who say it was confiscated by Union troops and they took it. You know, there's just a lot of theories, but nothing concrete.
Somebody has a lot of gold. That's end of the day.
Yeah.
Somebody's got a lot of gold.
It would be worth a lot of money today if someone discovered just in its historical provenance. It'd be worth hundreds of millions today.
No question. It is great getting a chance.
Fascinating.
It's great getting a chance to talk to you. I know that if people want to get the book, they can go to ElliotMasonBooks.com. It is great getting a chance to talk to you, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Elliot.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. If you want to pick up the book, you can just go to ElliotMasonBooks.com. That's Elliot with one T. The name of the book, The Arlington Orders, and Anthony Moore Communications, a proud sponsor of The Morning Blend.